He had nothing, no name, no fame, no wealth, just a burning desire to change his story every morning. He looked at the cracked mirror on his wall and whispered, "I am not meant for this life." The world around him laughed. They saw a failure. But inside him, something was growing: grit. He walked miles just to borrow old books. He read under dim streetlights. While others were sleeping, he was learning. People mocked him. "Why are you trying so hard?" they asked. "People like us are meant to stay where we are." But he didn't listen. His room was cold. His meals were often skipped. But he had something that most people didn't: an unshakable vision. He wasn't chasing comfort. He was chasing greatness. At night he cried in silence, but his tears weren't of weakness. They were fuel. One evening, after a long day of work and study, he collapsed on the ground, exhausted, and he smiled. Not because life was easy, but because he knew he was growing. Each struggle was sharpening him. The pain was not breaking him. It was building him. Years passed, still no success, still no recognition. But he didn't stop. The world hadn't changed, but he had. His mind was a fortress now. His dreams were louder than the noise outside. While his friends gave up, he kept showing up. One night, he wrote something in his journal. "I'm not here to prove the world wrong. I'm here to prove myself right." And that was the moment everything started shifting. His heart was scarred, his body tired, but his will unshaken. They thought his story was over. When the world saw defeat, he saw the blueprint for a comeback. But rising from the ashes isn't about grand gestures. It's about silent sacrifices. The kind no one claps for. The ones made in the cold when the crowd is gone and the pain echoes louder than your heartbeat. He started to train. Not his body, but his mind. He stopped chasing approval. He began chasing discipline. While others partied, he practiced. While others slept, he studied. And in those quiet hours, he was rebuilding something unbreakable. People mocked him again. "Trying too hard," they said. But this time, their words didn't sting. He wasn't trying to prove them wrong. He was trying to prove himself right. He took a job sweeping floors just to pay for books. He slept 4 hours a night. He sold his comfort to buy his future. And no one noticed. But that was the point. He wasn't building for applause. He was building for impact. There were nights he cried alone. Nights he questioned everything. Is it worth it? Am I enough? But he didn't quit. He reminded himself why he started. Not for fame, not for likes, but because deep down, he believed he was meant for more. He started to rise. One good habit at a time. One small win at a time. He built momentum. And momentum turned into belief. Belief turned into action. And action turned into change. He wasn't the same man anymore. He walked taller, spoke clearer, focused harder. He became obsessed not with winning, but with never giving up. Doors began to open. Opportunities showed up, not by luck, but because he refused to stay down. He got a scholarship. He launched a small business from his garage. People started noticing. But now it didn't matter what they thought, because he knew who he was. He wasn't the joke anymore. He was the lesson. A living reminder that storms don't break people. They build them. And just when life gave him one more test, a betrayal by someone he trusted, he didn't collapse. He smiled. Because now he knew, the deeper the pain, the greater the power. He kept moving, kept growing, kept becoming. Success didn't arrive overnight. It came slowly, wrapped in struggle, disguised as more hard work. While others saw results, he saw responsibility. He didn't celebrate early, he doubled down. He started mentoring others. Not because he had it all figured out, but because he knew what it felt like to have no one. He became the person he once needed. He listened when no one else would. He gave when he barely had enough for himself. That's when the real transformation happened. People started following him. Not because he was perfect, but because he was real. Because he walked through fire and didn't pretend it didn't burn. One day, he returned to that old neighborhood. Same cracked sidewalks. Same broken streetlights. But he wasn't the same. The kids who once laughed now listened. The voices that once mocked now admired. And he didn't need revenge, because his success was his response. He opened a center to help underprivileged youth. Free books, mentorship programs, safe spaces to dream, and every brick of that center was built from pain, from every no. Every sleepless night, every ounce of doubt he turned into fuel. Reporters started writing about him. Podcasts featured his story. But the most powerful recognition came from his mother's tears. Not of worry, but of pride. She whispered, "You became everything I prayed for, and more." He smiled. Not because it was easy, but because it was worth every step. He now stood on stages, not to impress, but to ignite. To remind people that no matter where you start, you can write your own ending. And as he looked out at the sea of faces, he remembered one thing. It wasn't about how far he came. It was about how many he could bring with him. So he kept telling his story, because someone, somewhere, still believed they were broken, still thought they were too late, too lost, too small. And he would be the voice that says, "You're not done? You're..." He stood there, drenched in sweat and pain, staring at the empty walls of his one-room apartment. The echoes of past failures still haunted him. But deep down, he had made a promise that he would not go back to that dark place, not again. Every single day he woke up at 4 a.m. The world was asleep, but he was alive. His routine became sacred: cold showers, morning runs, and hours of studying business and success. People called him obsessed, but he wasn't seeking approval. He was seeking redemption. He took up odd jobs, swept floors, cleaned dishes, sold water bottles at events. Every dollar he made, he reinvested into learning and growing. He watched free online courses, read books from public libraries, and slowly began building something real: a brand, a business, a vision. When others scrolled through social media for entertainment, he used it as a tool, sharing his story, his journey, his truth. At first, no one noticed, but consistency has a silent power. One video went viral, then another. His message started spreading like wildfire. He was no longer invisible. But just when he thought things were finally aligning, life hit him again. His mother fell seriously ill. Hospital bills came crashing down like a tidal wave. His small savings disappeared overnight. He sat in the hospital corridor, eyes swollen, heart heavy. "This is it," he whispered. But then something shifted. He remembered the boy who once had nothing and still survived. He remembered the nights he cried in silence, the mornings he ran until his legs gave out. He remembered who he truly was. So he stood up again.